I would like to acknowledge that this video is being filmed on the traditional lands of the Wurrundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people who may be watching this video today. Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing a Books Beside My Bed video, which is where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. This one could get a little bit long, so maybe get a drink and get comfy, and let's talk about the books that I've read in the last week. So this is my reading week from the 11th until the 17th of March. I read a total of 14 texts throughout this week, some of which were part of a reading vlog, which I've already posted, so I'll only really briefly mention those in this video, and then I'll talk about the other books that I read that weren't in that reading vlog. I read a total of 3,021 pages and my yearly reading total is 128 books. So last week I shared a reading vlog which was the Members Choose My TBR reading vlog. In that video I read Shamrocked by Jolie Sue Burkhart, The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss, and the first volume of the manga I'm a Wolf But My Boss is a Sheep. I talk about them in more depth in that video, so I'll leave that linked on the screen and down below so that you can check it out. That was a really fun reading vlog, just trying some new things. I like it when other people suggest things for me to read, and yeah, I was really pleased about that. To that end, I do relatively frequently now post little mini prompts and questions and challenges on my community tab, and this month I have a form which I'll actually leave linked in the description down below because you don't need to fill it out on the actual community page, but the link is there as well, for anyone to leave me a keyword, and I'm going to do something with that in April and throughout the year, so if you would like to leave a keyword, definitely fill in the Google form down below. Now to talk about the other books that I did read this week. I binge read on Sunday and Monday because it was public holiday weekend, the CU Hockey series by Eden Finley and Saxon James. They are an Australian writing duo, and these are college hockey romance books with various representation in them, and I thoroughly enjoyed them, so much so that I read 5 in 2 days because I'm me. So the first book in the series is Power Plays and Straight A's. This one is the relationship between the captain of the college hockey team, his name is Foster, and his twin brother's best friend, Zach. Now, remember that Foster has a twin brother because he features in a later book. So Zach is new on the Colchester Uni campus, which is where Foster plays hockey, and Seth, Foster's brother, asks him to keep an eye on Zach because he's worried about him being there by himself and not really knowing anyone. And at first Foster is annoyed by this because he's really intent on focusing on playing the best hockey he's ever played. He has dreams of being drafted to the NHL, and then he ends up becoming a little bit distracted by Zach, who he really can't seem to stay away from. And it was very sweet. The two tropes in this one to be aware of, it is a brother's best friend trope as well as a virgin hero trope as well. The second book in the series is Face-Offs and Cheap Shots. This one takes place the following year from the first book, and we have 2 new teammates vying for the position of captain of the team now that Foster has graduated. And we have Jacobs and Beck. Jacobs is very straight-laced and Beck is very not. This is really a rivals to lovers romance. There are some really ridiculous team challenges to try and decide who is going to be captain of the team, and throughout the story both Jacobs and Beck have a lot of personal realizations about themselves. In this book I've forgotten which character it is because I forgot to make a note of it because I just forgot. One of the main characters is pansexual. The third book is Goal Lines and First Times. This one is about Seth, who is Foster's twin brother from the first book, and Cohen. Cohen is another member of the hockey team. This one kind of runs parallel for the most part to the second book, so it takes place kind of in the same year, or at least it starts in the same year. And you have Cohen, who plays hockey for Colchester U, and he has sort of come to realize that maybe he's not as straight as he thought he was. This leads him to put himself out there on a gay dating app, and he meets a lot of really random people. But then he ends up talking to this guy who he is the complete opposite to. This guy hates hockey. He's not interested in it at all. And yet they form this connection. And as it turns out, that is Seth. And Seth himself is also coming to some realization. So he is also trying out this dating app, and that's how they connect. Seth really doesn't want to be overshadowed by his famous NHL hockey player brother, because he knows he's talking to this guy who loves hockey, and yet he's got this connection to him and he doesn't want that to, you know, be misused in any way. What the two don't realize at first is that they know each other, and then when they do eventually they do begin to connect the dots. And this one I really liked. We have Seth, who identifies as demisexual and pansexual, and also, you know, the support of friends and family, which I really liked. The fourth book in the series is Line Mates and Study Dates. This one is Asher and Cole's book. So the first three books really follow a similar group of characters, and then the last two books follow two new characters who we meet in book 3 who are actually related, and it's their stories. So Asher is a new member to the team. He is the younger brother of one of the new assistant coaches for the team, and Asher has a massive chip on his block. He and his older brother have become the guardians of their 5 younger step siblings after their father and stepmother are killed in I think it's a car accident. So there's a lot going on in their personal lives, and you also have Asher, who has put his professional hockey playing dreams on hold temporarily to help support the family by playing college hockey. And in order to do that, he needs to keep his grades up, and he's not doing that. And his older brother ends up asking Cole, who is the son of the head coach but is also the equipment manager for the year, to keep an eye on Asher. Cole doesn't really think anything of it, but then he runs across Asher and he sees that perhaps there's more going on than this guy who has a really massive attitude problem. And they slowly become friends, and Cole helps him to study, and then eventually this friendship turns into a romantic relationship. And it was great because you have this really rough around the edge character who has a lot going on, and you feel a lot of sympathy towards him even when he's being a bit of a jerk. And then the final book, Puck Drills and Cheap Thrills, is Asher's older brother's story. So his name is West. He is working as the assistant coach to the college hockey team, and this one runs parallel to the previous story as well. And we see that West goes to bat for Asher when one of his grades slip and he's in danger of losing his spot on the team, when West goes to confront the math professor who is threatening to fail Asher. What Asher hasn't told his professor is that there is extenuating circumstances in his home life as well. It's not just hockey that's distracting him. There's other things going on, like caring for all of these younger siblings. So West goes to confront him, and that's their meeting. And Jasper initially doesn't realize, obviously, what's going on with this family. He thinks they're all just being assholes because he was bullied by the jocks. And when he realizes exactly what's gone on for this family, he relents just a little bit. He eventually keeps running into West on campus, and there's a little bit of a deal done where West agrees to go with Jasper to his high school reunion where he was bullied because West played for the NHL. He is well known. It's there where they really start to have these sparks between them. So what was an arrangement of convenience becomes something more. And I enjoyed it. I found this series very easy to read. I liked all of the characters. I liked the camaraderie. I don't often binge read sports romances. It's not really my thing, especially college related ones, but this one didn't feel as new adulty as some of the others, so I didn't mind it. And it was a great way to just spend my weekend relaxing on the couch with a book series that I read from start to finish. The longest book in this series is about 316 pages, so they're not super long books, so they're fairly quick to get through. Then I moved into a reread, which is also a buddy read, and that is For Real by Alexis Hall. I'm buddy reading Alexis Hall's books with Bree from In Love and Words. This is possibly my favourite Alexis Hall book ever. I mean, look, I haven't read everything he's written, but of the ones that I have read, this is my favourite. This is an age gap romance between Laurie and Toby, who meet in a BDSM club. And Laurie is 37. He's sort of aging out of the scene. He's really not finding what he wants in it anymore. And on this particular night, he comes across Toby, and at first he thinks Toby, this young kid who's only 19, is there by accident, and he goes to tell him off. And we find out that no, Toby's exactly where he wants to be and he wants to learn. And Laurie is a sub and Toby is basically a baby dom, and he just wants to be taken seriously, and Laurie is the first person to do that. They have a pretty rough and rocky start to their relationship, and it goes on throughout the book because Laurie is still hung up on his previous partner who left him after a scene went wrong, and he hasn't really been able to deal with that. Part of that he does take out on Toby, and he realizes that, and he tries to do better, but they're both learning. They're both at completely different stages of their life, but they are perfect for one another. They're exactly what the other person needs if they can only get out of their own way. Toby is an absolute precious, precious character, and I love him to pieces. I just want to give him a hug. I think one of the things I said to Bree while we were reading it was, I think Alexis Hall writes very similar stories. Like, there's very similar threads in this book to some of the other ones that I've read by him, but every time he tells the story it's a little bit different, and it never, like, even though you can recognize the similarities, it never feels exactly the same, and I really like that. There's a comfort level in it. I know and trust his writing style. I know that he's going to do these characters justice. This book is super hot. I mean, it is a BDSM. There is a lot of sex on page. An interesting thing about this book is that despite the fact that it's a BDSM book, there's no use of safe words, because the characters trust each other implicitly to be able to be open and honest in the relationship, which I really appreciated. If you haven't read this one, strongly, strongly recommend it. This time, because this was the first time I was reading it in paperback, I read it in ebook last time, I also listened to the audio, and that was great as well. After that, I reread another favorite, which was Sink or Swim by Maz Maddox. I knew that this would be a quick and easy read. This week has been a lot, so I think I'm just going to try and get through the third book as well, maybe next week, and that'll be my reread done until I get, hopefully sometime this year, the fourth book in the series. This is my favorite in the Relic series, which is the Dinosaur Shifter series. This one is about Baha and Jackson. Baha is a member of Relic, and they go out to find and reclaim fossils and return them to the people or the countries that own them, particularly if other people are trying to steal them. And Baha is a Spinosaurus shifter. He is also a big old grump, and he is forced to work with Jackson, who is a former thief that has come to Relic with information about the sale of a rare Spinosaurus fossil. He has the way to get into this auction, which is held on an exclusive yacht for very rich people. They have to team up, and Baha is not very happy about this. He doesn't want to work with Jackson. And as the two are getting on to this yacht, Jackson reveals that they are fake fiancés so that they can get on board. And we find out that Jackson's previous partner is also on board the yacht. He happens to own it. Jackson has his own reason for being on this trip, but he is also there to help reclaim that fossil. It's so fun and funny because Jackson is quite sunshiny. He's very much like a cowboy. He is also a shifter, but I won't say what he is because that's part of the big reveal towards the end of the book. It was honestly fun. I love a good Grumpy Sunshine book. This one was forced proximity. They had only one bed. They were stuck on a yacht, and it was honestly just a delightful time. And then the last few things that I read this week were all novellas. I was just trying to get through some of the novellas on my KU TBR. So there was When She's Ready by Ruby Dixon, which is the first book in the Rizdiverse series, which is about Tassar and Leilani. Tassar is an alien ex-convict who has escaped from his prison planet and lands on the planet where Leilani is, and she's a human who can no longer go back to Earth and has been given some farming land on this planet. But in order to keep that property safe from some of the neighbours who are trying to claim some of her property land because they don't think she can handle it on her own because she's a human, she enters into this arranged marriage with Tassar. And she's determined to ignore his advances and keep it a marriage of convenience only, and yet he keeps pushing her, and it was pretty fun. It's been a while since I read a Ruby Dixon book, and I enjoyed this one. Then I read 2 Evada Weiss stories, and I know that Heather really loves Evada Weiss, and she's always recommending them to me. And I enjoyed them, and I'm going to talk about what they are about in a minute, but I think what I have to admit to myself is that Evada Weiss has a very particular writing style and types of thing that they like to write about. And every time I read one of their books, part of me feels like I'm missing something the whole time, and I think it's more just me. So while I don't necessarily rate them highly or always enjoy them as much as other people do, I think it's because they're outside my wheelhouse, so I'm glad that I'm trying them. But yeah, I sometimes feel like I'm missing something, and I think that's just my brain. I read Bound, which is their most recent release, I think, and this one is an MMF relationship, which is an enemies to lovers forced marriage of convenience thing with a huge amount of content warnings, so you need to definitely read those on the author's website. I'm not going to list them all here. This one does quite heavily feature consensual non-consent, so be aware of that going into it. All of them are were people, and Fear is one of the enemies of Aaron and Caius, and she's captured and she's given to them, and they are in charge of making sure that she doesn't escape. So definitely read the trigger warnings for this one. I don't think I can properly explain it because, like I said, I felt like I was missing something. Maybe that's just me. Then I read Fear and Other Love Languages, which is another novella on KU, and this one is about Elia, who is non-binary. They're working in a job where their boss is sexually harassing them, and at nighttime they are terrorized by nightmares and monsters that chase them through their dreams. And it's about how Elia develops a relationship with Mare and Terra, the monsters in their dreams, and how it resolves the issues in their workplace. So this one I enjoyed a little bit more than Bound, but again, there are a huge number of content warnings in this one. So definitely read those on the author's website before you pick this one up. And then finally, I read Desires Darkly, The Camper by Jack Harbin. This one is about Nathan, who returns to Camp Sunny Days, which is where he went to camp as a child. And when he was there, one of the students apparently drowned in the lake. And Nathan has never been able to stop thinking about this. And by the time he returns, he's having some suicidal thoughts. He's really not coping with his life or dealing with things. And as he approaches the camp, lots of people in the area warn him that, you know, the area is known for people disappearing. And as it turns out, there is someone hunting people on the campgrounds, which have long been abandoned. This one is pretty gory. There's a lot of brutal murder on page. It's pretty bloody, so be aware of that going into it. But it was an interesting read. I don't often delve into more horror themed books, but I've obviously picked up a couple of them in these novellas this week. All right, so those are the things that I have read in the past week. In the comments, I'd love to know if you have read any of them or if you're planning on picking them up. Alternatively, feel free to share something that you have really been enjoying. If you want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, you can leave a hockey stick and hockey puck emoji down below. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.